Spy Packer, and welcome to the podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Wildcat, and today we are going over 3 cases of true crime. First, we have the Wilmette Mall Massacre. Next, we have the mysterious case of ice machines at hotels being used for druggings and attempted organ theft. And finally, we have the case of several Chicago murders by a gang known as the Chicago Spirit. Wildcat, are you ready for these?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to read off these cases and you tell me what you think about them. You ready?
Yes.
You don't have to mute yourself every time you talk, right? You know that, right?
I know, but for some reason it keeps playing sound in the background.
Well, I'm not hearing anything on my end. Okay, here we go. The Wilmette Mall Massacre. So the weapon used in this case was a 13-inch chef knife. So the police of Wilmette County responded to the precinct. Reports of a madman attacking and killing civilians in the mall were reported. For you, those who don't know, I haven't mentioned yet, I am an undergraduate with a minor in criminology, so this is my bread and butter. So this appears to be a spree killing rather than a serial killing, because spree killings are several at once, while a serial killer has a cooldown period. So this is a Wilmette spree killer. So this killer is attacking the mall. He's killed. They weren't sure how many victims by the time he arrived, but when officers arrived, he was in the process of killing a child at the daycare center. Brutal stuff. Now, the strange thing about this case is the subject's persuasion over the officers, is the best way to put it. He pulled the knife on the officers, and they drew their pistols and ordered him to surrender, but he refused to surrender, and, excuse my language here, he declared his intention to murder every last one of you expletive pigs. Officers were all killed, and not one of them managed to fire a round at the suspect. Eventually, another unit managed to arrive. Now, we know the name of this officer. She was mentioned in the report. Cynthia Wallace. Now, she arrived and managed to draw her weapon on the suspect, but she too could not fire. We're not sure what the suspect said to her, but she could not fire. She did manage to request even more backup. Now, at this point, the police department realized that this was way above their pay grade, so they called in the National Guard at this point. So the National Guard shows up. They pull up in heavy equipment. This is the fastest response time they've seen. It took them a bit, but they got there. They show up in Humvees, tactical gear. They're here already. They show up. The man's killed almost everyone in the mall at this point. They show up with their guns drawn. They order him to get on the ground. He refuses. Still don't know what this man is saying to get these officers, and at this point, National Guard members, to refuse to even fire upon him. National Guard can't even take him down. Disarms all the National Guard members, takes them all hostage, just using a knife. And at this point, they realize that something has to be done. They call in more National Guard, SWAT units, state police. They've got half the department of everyone in a 3-county radius nearby. They send in a number of people, specialists. They send in one person to distract a suspect, and they send in another who is placing bombs, specialized police bombs, C4, I believe the report is, on the outside. Now, the report says that this first guy, the specialist they sent in, didn't have any hope for him, but this guy had killed so many people, they had to make sacrifices. So they placed the explosives, set them off. Bam, guy's dead. Craziness. So, yeah, and they retrieved the weapon. Was just a normal chef knife. It's crazy. So that was our first case, the Willamette Mall Massacre. What did you think of that one? Because this is probably the most brutal that we had to review today.
Well, from what I hear, him killing a bunch of people and killing a kid at daycare, I hope he ends up in the darkest pits of hell.
That is quite reasonable, to be fair. I'll give you that. So that was our first case. Now the suspect, they aren't sure what exactly he was saying, but it seemed he had some sort of control over the officers. Barely anyone made it out of here, but there were a very few number of survivors. So that was our first case. Let's move on to our next one, the Hilton Hotel organ theft. So we've been to hotels before. You've been to Hilton, Holiday Inn, that sort of stuff. You've been to Hilton before, right? Like Holiday Inn hotel.
I had no clue.
Well, I'll live with you. I reckon we've been to a hotel together.
Yeah.
So you know how these hotels, they have ice machines, right?
Yep.
So there was a case. It was a bizarre case to say the least. Number of residents, I believe, they're not sure the exact amount of people who were affected in this incident, but they are aware of the ones that were attacked. They believe at least 20 people were affected by this attack, and at least 5 were directly targeted. It was a Holiday Inn. They've had the state redacted, so we're not positive what state, but it was a Holiday Inn, and some criminal organization or just a single individual drugged the ice machine. So anybody going in and get ice would be hit with what at first they thought it was LSD at first because these were people were talking crazy. They were saying there were strange men following them and stalking them. They were confused. They forgot what was going on. And that was it, they thought. They thought some nut jobs tried to do something stupid, drugged an ice machine. But then, 5 people had their rooms broken into. 2 of them woke up in the middle of this, and they say there's a strange man with barely even a face. I'll send a picture of it. Hold on. This is what they believe he looked like. I'll send it to the podcast talk right here. If I can get it to save. Okay. That should have done it. There we go. So this right here, this is what they describe the suspect as looking at. Do you see that?
Jesus Christ, that's creepy.
So they describe they have woke up and they've seen this thing. And this person has IV bags and is drawing blood from them and taking samples from them, to say the least. Just taking pieces of hair and flesh and just pulling it out of them. And one guy says he woke up, scar on his side, ice bath, stole his kidneys, what he's saying. They're not positive. They don't know who done this. So this goes from a simple someone's drugging ice machines to there is an organ stealing ring at this Holiday Inn. They never arrested anybody in this particular case, but this seemed to only happen once. That was our second case. What do you think of that one? This one isn't as disturbing, but I've heard some horror stories from hotels. This might be the worst I've heard yet.
Well, to say the least, I don't think I'd want to go to a hotel and wake up with one of my kidneys gone.
That's a classic story right there. Very few times this actually happened, but this appears to be one of them. Alright, let's go ahead and wrap this one up. This was a short one. We're planning on doing a longer one when we get the full scale one going. This one's actually from the FBI archives. 6 murders, a series of 6 murders by a killer they've deemed the Chicago Reverend. Now, this is associated with a criminal organization known as the Chicago Spirit. This is a pretty old case. The Chicago Spirit was around during Prohibition. They were running illegal bars, speakeasies, that sort of stuff. So there were 6 murders, and all of them came from a single individual who reported them. He called himself Mr. Knight. Now, the only thing they know about Mr. Knight is that he was a man, he had black hair, and they believe he was Polish due to his accent. Now, this gang, the Chicago Spirit here, they weren't to be messed with. They were brutal, and they killed people. And they believe that the Chicago Reverend Killer was a member of this Chicago Spirit gang. A lot of Chicago in this one. Believed that he was cleaning up after the gang dissolved, killing anybody who could have known any better. So, here's a couple of the victims. First, we have Riley O'Callaghan. He was murdered October 12th, 1941. He was killed in his own house. His bones were removed and arranged near his body. Now, when they found him, the guy looked like he'd been dead for 10 years, looked like a mummy. But it turned out he couldn't have been dead for more than 2 hours. So whoever's doing this is working fast, and they're working disturbing methods. They're pretty much mummifying a guy in like 2 hours. Next one, they called him Julius Sawteeth McGang. Now this guy was killed on Halloween 1941. Same thing. Looked like he was mummified. Couldn't have been dead more than 2 hours. So we have an MO here. That's important with serial killers. A MO. Killing over a couple of days. Has his way of doing it. 3, we have Al Stewart. This guy, November 20th. This was a couple of days later. He was in a hotel, like last time. Hotel theme this time. All of his organs were swapped. Now, this is obviously weird. There is a condition where your heart can be on the other side of your body, but all of your organs aren't going to be flipped. I don't believe. There might be something I'm not aware of, but I don't believe all of your organs can be flipped, especially in this case, as it was a gory mess. So this was definitely not natural. They don't know what could have done it, but he was definitely dead by the time they got there. Our 4th victim, Vlasy Sokovo, I believe that's how you say it. Christmas Eve, 1941. He was at the Trinity Hospital in Florida. He had hypothermia, despite the fact it was 65 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'll throw the Celsius up on screen for that right now. And now this guy, they think he was an intermediate. He spoke Russian. He was a Russian. He was the intermediate between the Chicago Spirit and the Russian Mafia. So all these guys been members of the mob. So someone's cleaning house. 5th victim was Jack Pilston, January 8th. So we're in 1942 now. Discovered in his residence, shot once between the eyes. This one's a bit different. Simply shot him dead, and he's just done for. None of this crazy crap like these other guys have had. Like, bones ripped out, mummified, and a hypothermia in the middle of the summer in Florida. Well, winter, but you get the idea. It's always summer in that place. Feels like it anyways. And this one actually had a witness. There was someone left the building, strange-looking individual. The doorman said he looked like a drug addict, but they're not sure. Now, here's a letter that the FBI recovered. I'm going to read it to you now. Jack, I just want you to know that you were always one of my favorites. From those days back in the Spirit, did what you were told, didn't ask too many questions, exactly what I look for in my subordinates. Almost makes me wish I could give you a second chance. But I've set my mind. I'm just doing some cleaning with regard to the Spirit. You're smart enough to get what I mean by that. I thought I'd give you some time to get your things in order before I end you. I liked you, kid, but not enough for me to leave you off the list, but enough for a little kindness before the end. I'll be around in 2 days, so do whatever you gotta do before then. For you, I'll promise it'll be quick. There we go. Mr. Knight. So this was a letter from the Mr. Knight that the FBI was having these tips from. So Mr. Knight seems to be one of these telling themselves serial killers. I've seen a couple of cases like this. So this is one of the last victims that they have that they actually know about. Anthony Dorfman, Valentine's Day. I've Valentine's Day Massacre. That's a classic mob one. This one doesn't appear to be related, I don't believe, but knowing this case, it's a wonder. He was a high-ranking bootlegger for the Chicago Spirit. He was arrested. They had him in custody, and he just vanished. They weren't sure what happened, but they're doing a sweep of the perimeter. They come back. He's in the cell, and he's dead. Don't know who took him out, but they must have took him out and killed him, threw him back in there with such a speed that the FBI couldn't find him. They said they couldn't find anyone near the cell, couldn't find anyone going in there, but they did see, one guard reported, there was somebody who looked suspicious entering the room before the killing. They don't know who this guy was, but I believe it was that guy that the doorman saw in the earlier killing. So we do have the phone calls of this Mr. Knight, so I'll read these off. There may be something you'll find interesting. Where's your Chicago Spirit, Mr. Knight? Check out the basement. Sawteeth was a good partner, but his time came up. Surprised he managed to remain free for so long, but the past catches up to all of us, Mr. Knight. My brother told me this was a mistake, that there are some things you just have to do, Mr. Knight. I remember how that Russian expletive used to boast that he was never bothered by the Chicago winters. I always hated how smug he was about it. I was sorry about this one. Jack was a good kid, but he knew too much. Shame, really. And here's another one. You should already know something happened to Dorfman. The FBI isn't that useless after all. Sorry for the mess this is causing you folks, but I got to wrap up some loose ends. If you're still going to try and find me, well, good luck with that. Chappelle tried his best and never did. Mr. Knight. So that was all of our cases. What did you think of this for the entry episode?
Well, this one, more organ stealing for the in another hotel, and all those other killings.
So I'm going to send you the files I've read if you want to review these real quick.
Alright.
Alright, I just sent them to the podcast talk if you want to look at those. Alright, you see them?
I'm looking at one right now.
Which one you looking at?
I don't know.
Are you sure you look at it? It doesn't say you opened it.
668.
Now, you noticed what department that one comes from?
A loose.
Have you noticed where that file's hosted at?
The SCP Foundation.
You realize something yet?
These are all fake.
All of these were SCPs.
Well, then.
How'd you go in there?
This is why I don't like you, son. This is why I don't like you.
This has been like a big thing. Like I've seen a couple people do it. Saw one with FNAF. I've seen a FNAF one. I mean a bunch of stuff. Found those pretty interesting. I thought, I might as well throw my hat into the ring being the SCP guy. So what'd you think? Good time with that one?
I hate you. You did all this crap just for a video and led me on.
Well, it worked, didn't it? You believed every word of it.
Well, as soon as you said it, I saw SCP and I was confused. And
There's a good one. Well, thanks for being a good sport about this, Wildcat. If you want to look on his channel, it'll be linked in the description. I'll be doing some collabs with him. He's been at this for a while. He hasn't uploaded a bit, but I'm here to give him a hand. We're going to work on some videos together. I believe after this session, we're going to be doing a Schedule 1, was it?
yep.
So get ready to see us there. both of us. I have been Dr. Packer, and this has been the. It's an SCP file, but my co-host doesn't realize it. Thank you for listening or watching, because hey, you can't get enough of this fine rat. And I'll see you all in the next time with whatever we do next. And I'll see y'all later. Bye bye.